Everybody, I'm Nick Weaver, and I am the lab director and co-owner of Alive and Well, and I want to do a strain review of the Strayberries. It's got a funny name, Strayberries. The tasting notes are cereal milk, special K cereal, and dried strawberries. You know that cereal that Special K provides. This is pretty spot on accurate to the what the tasting notes say on the box. This strain was sourced from down in Watsonville, Santa Cruz County. Well, not Watsonville, it's more Salinas area. It's a beautiful area to source cannabis from. A lot of the leafy greens and the fruits, Martinelli's apple juice is grown there. I think Driscoll's is down there. One of the most beautiful places in the country to grow cannabis, for sure, and grow any other fruit or leafy green that can't stand super high heat. The temperature is generally, 75 degrees there in the summertime, and just perfect. And then the wintertime, it's not bad at all. It doesn't get really cold. It gets a little windy down there, but and it gets a little rainy. But for the most part, it's that's where San Jose, that's where Silicon Valley, all that kind of stuff. This was sourced from the Possible Group, which they run the brand Humo. And they have a bunch of proprietary strains, and we've been working with them for a while. And this strain is delicious. We've sourced it several times. Some of you guys have probably tried it. This would be like the third version we've done. I say V3. It's just the third separate extraction process. So every time it can come out a little bit different. So it's, a different harvest, that kind of thing. But it's mixed light grown, which is in a greenhouse in beautiful weather with indoor lighting. So it's kind of like the transformer of growing. It's best of all worlds. Great strain, and I think you guys will absolutely love it. I just loaded up 20 strains that are going to Nabis. I think they're going next. They'll be on the menu to order for all the retail stores on Tuesday, and probably hitting the streets or retail stores end of next week. So, I'm trying to review all of them. I don't know if I'm going to get to it before next Friday, but I'm pretty excited about doing these videos, and they're getting some I'm getting some good feedback from them. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoy my camouflage subject object shirt that I got from my buddy Shane. Him and his buddy run that brand, and he likes to give me clothing. And so I appreciate that, and it looks pretty funny on camera. I get a lot of remarks from this shirt. So anyway, I'm also going to talk about other things because I just got a lot of things on my mind. I see a lot of people talking about solventless, which is bubble hash and rosin. And sometimes CO2 gets put in that category, but we all know CO2 is trash. If you're still doing CO2 extraction, stop and try something different. Try solventless or BHO, because honestly, those are the only ones that actually promote connoisseurship. The rest of them are trash and you shouldn't do them. Ethanol extraction is for distillate. You can't save the terps with ethanol extraction, so I don't even care about that either. But it always comes down to solventless. The argument is which one's better, solventless versus BHO, which is butane hash oil. In my opinion, they're both great. One of them is a little more manual labor. The other one, BHO, can go into high throughput and keep the quality. But here's my gripe with the solventless versus BHO argument. It all comes down to ethics and cleanliness in the lab. And solventless use water, ice water. You don't have to use ice. You can just use really cold water if you have a good jacketed cooling system with circulating water that's cold enough. You can break the trichome heads off of the plant, and they kind of just snap off. And then you collect them in different size filter bags, ranging from 40 micron to 120 micron, something like that. And you catch the heads. So yes, water is a solvent, but you're not using it as a solvent. If you were using water as a solvent, then you would be using steam to steam clean the oil off of the plant, which people do. I don't recommend it. You're going to get a bunch of chlorophyll and a bunch of nasty shit, and then you're going to be left to try to filter it all out after the case. And chlorophyll is a pain in the ass. It's very sticky, causes charring on glass and stuff like that. So anyway, yeah, solventless is the is one way to do it. And then you catch the heads, right, in these different micron bags where it catches anything bigger than a 90 micron head. It catches on the filter screen, which is kind of like a coffee filter, but they're nicer material. And so you're catching the heads at different sizes. And depending on how much you agitate the water and the cannabis that you put in it, if you use a washing machine, it's going to leach out more chlorophyll, and it's going to make more undesirable output. But if you do it right, it's pretty much one of the more high-end products that you can serve. But my problem with that is I've seen too many processors that don't have good, clean practices in the lab. And I'm talking about like almost all of them. I rarely walk into a lab, in someone else's lab, and I've been in a ton of them. They're all kind of gross. And this is why I'm talking about this, because someone's got to say something, and whoever gets to watch this and listen to it, clean yourself up, fool. It's important, especially if someone's going to come to your lab and you're going to invite somebody in. Otherwise, just don't let anybody in, and be dirty, whatever. But yeah, then they serve those products in the market. So solventless, when you use ice water, you're not using a solvent. So solvents usually kill bacteria. So BHO kills bacteria. It's kind of like rubbing alcohol. You rub alcohol on a surface, and it kills all germs. And so cannabis sometimes isn't clean. So a lot of people like to use beneficial bugs for a pest management program instead of spraying with pesticides, which in theory is great. But the problem is, what happens when you have an infestation? If you have an infestation of a bug that's eating your plants, and I'm talking about like hundreds of thousands, I don't even know. I mean, it's like in the millions of bugs. It depends on how big your garden, but even in a small like bedroom garden, like indoor garden, like in your bedroom, you could have millions of spider mites in there, and they're microscopic and they're disgusting, and they make webs everywhere, and it's kind of overwhelming. So some people will put ladybugs in there, and they'll release ladybugs into the room. Well, what happens when you release ladybugs in the room? You get a bunch of, it's like a feeding frenzy. They're eating all these bugs, and they're all happy, and it's like, I mean, it's like a buffet at like Sizzler. And what happens after you eat a shitload of food? You piss and shit everywhere, and that's what's on my mind when I think about solventless processing, where depending on where you source your material, that will end up in your solventless. And the tightest micron filter you go through in solventless is generally about a 25 micron filter when you're doing the end rosin squish. And squishing it through a filter bag to remove like the red hairs and any other, like you're just refining it a little bit. But when you're talking about, bug shit and piss and, mold and anything, it's going through that micron bag. 25 micron is a coffee filter. What happens when you grind your coffee beans too much? You get sludge in the bottom of your cup. Same size, 25 micron coffee filter, 25 micron rosin bag. So anyway, something to think about, because if someone's out there serving cheap solventless rosin or bubble hash, and it's cheap, and it's kind of a bigger company, probably wouldn't mess with that. I would never touch it. You guys, obviously people have their thresholds. I've seen too much. So I want to share those kind of things with the public because, there's better ways to grow. If you have an infestation, you already have an immune system problem generally, or you're overdoing it. Sometimes accidents happen, but then there's continuous practice of this kind of thing. And I've walked into plenty of greenhouses and smelled what it smells like to have an infestation of bugs and have predatory bugs in there, and the shit show. You can smell it. So I want to smell weed when I walk into a greenhouse, and delicious terps. I don't want to smell fecal matter and whatever the hell else somebody's spraying or whatever. I mean, so anyway, that is my gripe with the solventless versus BHO battle, and I'm going to go to BHO now. BHO is butane hash oil. Butane is a solvent. It's liquid. It looks like water in a tank. You would never be able to tell the difference until you got it on your hand or something. It evaporates very quick. It's a great solvent for cannabis, and if you have clean practices, then you can really make some beautiful oil with it, just like solventless. But what I get to do in my process is I get to filter through 1 micron filter steel plates, and they are extremely tight. It's 25 times tighter than a 25 micron coffee filter. And here's an example of the difference. If you think about a virus is generally, or at least I remember they were talking about the COVID virus floating through the air, right? And it was half a micron. So that being said, that's microscopic. So when we're filtering, I'm filtering through about 1 micron, general 1 micron, 1 to 5 micron screens. Multiple stages of screens that filter out any kind of undesirable fat, lipid, that kind of thing that we don't want in our extract. And it makes a very, very, very clear, non-coagulating cart. That's what makes our carts finish all the way to the end. You don't see it coagulate, which is it gets gelatinous. That's generally a fat that creates that, and I can kind of get into the specifics of fats, where I don't know if people realize how much fat is in plants, especially cannabis. There's a lot of fat, especially when you grind your input product, your trim or your bud, before you put it into the extraction. We don't do that, because if you grind your input material, all you do is slice the cell walls open and you release all of the internal fats, lipids, and mainly the undesirable shit you don't want. What we're going after is the trichome that grows on top of the leaf and the buds. It's like an antenna. And all we want is that little ball. It's like a bubble. And that bubble has a little layer of fat. It is fat. It's a lipid. It's a bubble of fat. And I think of it this way: I want that fat. I don't want the fat from inside the cell walls of the leafy material. And I've seen both. And I kind of think of it like a steak. And this is a crazy analogy, but a good steak with the right amount of fat, like there's good fats and bad fats, and the fats that I want to keep. And generally, the fat is where all the major flavor is in a steak. And if you have the right ratio of steak and fat, it just makes the steak delicious, especially when it's cooked right and it's salted right and all that kind of stuff. But yes, I want that trichome ball fat, and that's where a lot of the flavor that we're going after comes from. And in order to get that, when you're extracting, you have to, kind of, it's really hard to explain, but we want that. And in our extraction process, we try to get that part of the trichome, structure as well. And then inside of the trichome head is a bunch of cannabinoids: THC, CBD, CBC, CBG, all of those things you've heard of. They're all swimming around in that ball with terpenes. And then there's esters in there, there's sulfuric compounds, all sorts of flavor compounds, but everything you want is pretty much around that trichome head. And there's like 5 different trichome heads, and they're all pretty much different sizes, and they all contribute to the full spectrum flavor experience. So I'm trying to get all of those. And if you're just collecting 90 micron heads, then you're in solventless, you're probably missing out on a little bit of the flavor spectrum of the plant. BHO, what we do, that allows me to, I can be very selective with what I want to get out of the plant. I can over extract it, just like you're washing your clothes and you can use too much bleach and that kind of shit and you fuck your clothes up. Or you can wash your clothes nice and gentle, like mom does, or whoever used to wash your clothes as a kid and take care of you and whatever, and not screw your clothes up and make them smell all nice and shit like that, and make them last longer. So you're either extracting dirt out of your clothes. I'm extracting oil off of a plant. Extraction is the removal of something out of something. I want to get something out of something. So probably get some comments on this video, because the solventless group, they and the BHO groups, they like to butt heads about this topic, and I figured I'd give my 2 cents on that. So anyway, I appreciate you guys watching the video, and for the love of terps, see you later.